So we started Tiafel Garage a little bit over half a year ago. The idea with the channel is, I'm a car guy. I've got some cars that are interesting to me. I've owned some interesting cars, certainly. Ferrari 360 Spider manual, an Audi R8 for a brief period, and plenty of other machinery through the years. And I work on them. So I figured this would be kind of a neat opportunity to chronicle, what it's like to own one of these older cars in the Bay Area, and also chronicle my journey as a DIYer and the stuff that I'm doing to these cars. And to me, that's part of the fun and the challenge is learning how to do something new and trying to apply it to something you love. And so that's kind of the premise of Tiafel Garage. Try it and find out.
Tiafel Garage.
The impetus of this channel was really that I've been doing this for a while, and I've had a lot of different cars and such. When I got this Porsche, I noticed that there were some things off with the flares. The flares are fiberglass, and there's some issues with them, which I'll go into in more detail later when I actually attempt to take them off. Once I decided I'm actually going to attempt to learn how to weld and weld on flares, I was like, this kind of thing is probably not something everybody's doing every day, and so I'm going to do it anyway. Might as well chronicle it on my journey here on a YouTube channel. Shortly after that, I got the flares, and then I started, 4 or 5 months ago, messing around with the welders. So I got a welder. There's two types of main welders. There's what's called a TIG welder and a MIG welder. I'm not going to go into them in detail here. There's lots of information on YouTube. But suffice to say, at the very highest level, a TIG welder is lower heat and more precise. It's almost like soldering, and it's kind of delicate. You can easily melt through the material if you have too much heat, and if you don't have enough heat, then you won't get a good weld. And you can throttle the heat with a pedal, and then you kind of apply a filler rod as you go and sort of delicately stitch a seam. And the seam, what I've learned is the seam needs to be very, very close together, almost no gap, and the two metals have to be of equal thickness and equal distance from the torch, if you will. MIG welding is a lot more crude and easy, as I learned. It's essentially like a hot glue gun in a sense. There's a spool of wire that constantly feeds out, and so when you're zapping the weld, it's constantly applying material at the same time. So a lot more forgiving. You can fill larger gaps. You can deposit metal relatively easily. And the thing with it, though, is it does create more heat, which creates more distortion, which can be a problem for body panels. So if you saw my previous video, my idea for this car here is to make it more like street and less race. When I got it, it had the ducktail, and it had a roll cage inside, and it had fiberglass hood and some other racing stuff, no blinkers, no horn, etc. So I'm working to make it more of a street car. I've got the materials to make the back seat back to like original back seat, and the shelf and everything, which I'll capture later. But anyway, so I took out the roll cage and saw the holes left by the roll cage and figured, hey, this will be a good opportunity for me to try out welding on the car. I practiced welding for on the order of a month or two just on the weekends, and got to where I was comfortable enough to try to weld on the car itself. And then I did successfully weld up what turned out to be like 19 holes, 18 or 19 holes, like golf, 18 holes, I don't know. And so that was a success for me. They aren't beautiful, but they're good enough for what's going to be underneath the carpet or underneath the car, and certainly much better than either the holes or the bolts and nut that was there temporarily filling the hole previously. I took a lot of footage, honestly, on me trying out a weld and it being a mess and looking like crap and trying again, and I changed this setting, that setting. But I came to realize there's other channels that will tell you how to weld. And so I figured I'd just sort of summarize it here. So my 2 hours of footage or whatever is probably going to become about 4 minutes. But I was able to learn welding enough to my satisfaction to be able to fill up all the holes on the rear and the back where the roll bar was, and where there was some various other seatbelt holes and such. And I primed it and got it coated with a rubberized coating. I've put it all back together, so I am good to go now in terms of taking out the car and being able to drive it again. My next big thing will be to apply that welding practice on the flares that I will be welding on to replace the fiberglass ones, which again was sort of the genesis of this channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you are interested on how it's gonna go with the welding of the flares or classic car ownership here in the Bay Area, please do like, share, and subscribe. We're up to about 450 subscribers so far. Thank you for watching Tiafo Garage.